Okay, so we're gonna do part 2 of our homework. And so part 2 is to find the point where k comma 0, so that coordinate is a right angle. So when you find right angles, you usually use the Pythagorean theorem. So you use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so this would be a, this would be b, and this would be c. So we're gonna use those three to solve for it. Okay, and so we have to try to find what a is. And because we don't know what k is, we're not gonna have like an approximate value. So when we take this triangle apart, okay, so from here to here is k, so that's k, and then from here to here is 20, and then you don't know what that is. So when you do the Pythagorean theorem, so we're going to use this one for this one, it's going to be that of 20 squared plus k squared. So that's going to be for this one. So this is going to be for a. And then we also have to solve for this one right here, because this is not going to give us an exact value. So we're going to pull that triangle apart right here too. Okay, and so this is also going to be a right angle. So then when you go from here to here, that's going to, from here to here, that's going to be 50. And then when you go from here to here, you don't know what that is. And so it's going to be, since this whole thing is 80, it's going to be 80 minus k. And then you're going to do this too, for this side too. So this is going to be b. So b is going to be the root of 80 minus k squared plus 50 squared. Okay, so that gives us a side, b side, and then for c side, that's going to give us an exact value since these are numbers. So for c, it's going to be c equals the square root of 80 minus 0 squared plus 50 minus 20 squared. Okay, and then that's going to equal 80 squared plus 30 squared. And that's going to give us the square root of 7,300. Okay, so that is our answer to C. So we can take all these numbers and put them together again. Okay, so from the last page, we know that A is that, B is that, and C is that. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem because that is supposed to use for a right angle. And so when you use that and you have a triangle of a right angle and you give that 3 sides, it should tell us that that triangle is the right angle if it all works out. So we're going to plug this into the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so we're going to have the square root of 20 squared plus k squared plus 80 minus k squared plus 50 squared equals okay, so this is our Pythagorean theorem. And so we're going to break this down. And so since the squared undoes the square root, it's just going to be the same of what's underneath. So it's going to be 20 squared plus k squared plus 80 minus k squared plus 50 squared equals 1,300. Okay, so this is this, and then we're just going to simplify it. So 20 squared is 400. So 400 plus k squared, and then we're going to keep this as this, so just we can simplify it at the end, plus 80 minus k squared plus 50 squared, which is 2,500 equals 7,300. Okay, so we have that, and then we're going to add all the like terms. So k squared plus 80 minus k squared plus 2,900 equals 7,300. Okay, so we're going to keep simplifying all this. So then we're going to keep the k squared, and then this is squared. And so we actually have to break that down and FOIL this. So it's going to be 80 minus k times 80 minus k plus the rest of the stuff. Okay, so now we have to FOIL to do this. Okay, so it's going to be 400 minus 160k plus k squared. Okay, so now we're just again going to add our terms. So k squared plus k squared is going to be 2k squared minus 160k. And then we can add the 6,400 and 2,900 to get 9,300 equals 7,300. Okay, and then you want to solve for k. To solve to k, you have to get all the variables on one side. So you're going to subtract the 7,300. Equals 0. And then you have to solve for k. So Ashley is going to show us how to solve for k.
So to solve for k, we need to use the quadratic formula, which is k equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so 2 would be a, then we have b and c. So k equals 160 plus or minus the square root of negative 160 squared minus 4 times 2 times 2,000 over 2 times 2. And so now we're just going to simplify that. K equals 160 plus or minus, and then 160 squared is 25,600 minus 16,000 over 4. So then we have k equals 160 plus or minus the square root of 9,600 over 4. And so you can't take the square root of 9,600 divided by 4, so you have to break that up. So k equals 160 plus or minus the square root of 1,600 times the square root of 6 over 4. Okay, so now we have k equals 160 plus or minus, so the square root of 1,600 is 40 times the square root of 6 over 4. So now, if we divide everything by 4, we have 40 plus or minus 10 square root 6. And so now if we do 40 plus 10 square root of 6, you get 64.49. And then if you do minus, you have 15.50 repeating. So if we have k can be 64.49 or 15.5, and both of them make a right angle.